Good afternoon, everyone. I am Pat Moulton, and I'm the president of the college. I'm coming to you from the president's house here on campus, and I'll ask for your forgiveness if my dog barks if the UPS truck comes up the driveway. But we just had ACL surgery on my dog 2 days ago, so he's in nursing mode now. But and I'm the mama nurse. But thank you all. I very much appreciate you being here this afternoon. We know you probably had other things you could or should be doing this afternoon, but we're very glad you're here to join us. And as I indicated in my communication Wednesday, ensuring a safe work and learning environment for our employees and our students is our #1 priority. We also know that obtaining a practical, hands-on, applied education is so important for you, our students, and for your learning outcomes. For many of you, that's why you're here. We want to assure you have that opportunity. We also know that COVID-19 virus is having a resurgence in this country. We're even seeing more risk here in Vermont as recently as this week. While Vermont remains a very low number of cases, that may not be sustainable with what is happening everywhere else. That is why, out of an abundance of caution and concern for our students and employees, we've made the decision to move to a hybrid delivery model, this fall. We know that's not preferred for many of you. We know you'd like to be on campus with your friends and to make new friends. And we all wish that COVID did not exist, but it does, and we cannot ignore, and we cannot assume business as usual. This is our new normal for a while, folks. And to be clear, this is not in the best financial interests of the college. The loss of room and board revenue will have a significant impact. However, it is the right public health decision, which must be the priority during this pandemic. The hybrid model means students will receive their lectures remotely to enable you to stay at home if you wish. Labs will be face-to-face here on campus in smaller groups and during designated weeks throughout the semester. We will enable out-of-state students, students who are home insecure or have connectivity or other home learning environment challenges to apply to be here for the entire semester. Professional pilot and dental hygiene students will be able to stay at the Williston campus the entire semester to assure access to the airport for flight time and the dental clinic for required clinical hours. Student Affairs is currently accepting applications for those students just identified to come for the entire semester via sending an email to studentaffairs@vtc.edu. And we will be asking you to provide some additional information. Jason Enser, Dean of Student Affairs, and Mary Catherine Juskowitz, Associate Dean of Outreach and Support, will have more information on that for you shortly. All students can opt out of residential and come for low residency and come to campus for select weeks throughout the semester to facilitate time in the labs. This is a new decision, so all academic programs are still determining how many weeks and for what duration you'll be here for lab work. Programs will communicate that to you directly in the near future so you can plan for how you'd like to proceed. So stay in touch and stay on top of your email, your VSC, your Vermont Tech email. That is our official method of communication. And all students are required by state of Vermont regulation to be tested for COVID-19 either before you arrive on campus or while you're here. Jason Enser will have additional information on that shortly. However, testing is not foolproof. And we need to be clear and candid. If you have symptoms or know you have been in contact with someone who is positive, do not come to campus. Think of your fellow students, faculty, staff, and their families, and please stay home. We will develop individual solutions for students who may not be able to come here or have to leave due to a positive test, or those who become ill, or those who cannot come because they're immune compromised. While you're here, you'll be asked to wear a face covering at all times you're in the lab or places where others are present or any location outside of your res hall room or open air. We will be providing students with reusable masks, but you're encouraged to bring some additional masks. Social distancing will be the rule of the day while on campus in any building. And frankly, outside, frequent hand washing will be required. Hand sanitizers are located throughout the campus, and students are encouraged to bring your own supply. And we all will be asked to be polite and gentle and remind each other of these requirements if they see folks who are not in compliance. You will be asked to sign a student health pledge that you will do your absolute best to assure your safety and the safety of those around you by following the necessary protocols. Failure to comply with these protocols may result in discipline up to and including expulsion. This is serious business, folks. We have vulnerable populations in our employee population and our student body. And we're committed to making the campuses at Vermont Tech as safe as possible while following the governor's mandatory guidance as well as the evolving guidelines issued by the Centers for Disease Control. However, there are no guarantees for complete safety, and it's only through taking personal responsibility and watching out for each other and respecting the need to take care of each other that we'll be successful in ensuring a healthy semester for our community. I ask us all to take very seriously the required precautions to assure we can have a full semester so you can advance your education and onto your career. To some extent, peeps, we control our destiny this semester. If we all do our respective parts, we should be okay because we are Vermont Tech Stronger and we can do this. So with that, I'd like to turn to the questions that many of you submitted in advance, and thank you for that. And I'm going to ask Jason Enser, Dean of Student Affairs, to lead this section. So please take it away, Jason.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, everybody, for joining us and being patient, understanding that it's ever evolving. You know, every day that we think we have a plan, the next day changes. So I am very proud of Pat's leadership in this decision. It's not a light one that we made, but it is in the best interest of public health. You know, we really said that's much more important than thinking about the financial end. We want you to be safe. So there were a lot of great questions sent in advance. So I was able to work with my team to prep some answers on those. And then I'm sure there's going to be a lot more that come up. And if we don't know the answers now, we will get back to you because this is ever changing. And if additional things come up, make sure you email studentaffairs@vtc.edu. So the first set of questions have to do with academics. So I'm going to answer these, but I believe Anna Gayet, our academic dean, is on the line, and she's really the expert. So if there are additional questions, I might turn to her. Anna, are you here and able to speak? I just want to make sure that is the case.
She's here, and she is currently muted.
Okay, Michelle, would you mind giving her unmute? Okay, just want to make sure. So, all right, so the first question, how do I find out what books I need for classes and how do I order them? The book assignment process is not changing. In case of doubt, contact your faculty member. The next question, how do I find out my schedule? Same as always, portal or check with the registrar if there's an issue. Next question, when does school start? Please see the calendar on the website for all those details, but I'll get into that a little bit further as we start to talk about those that might be staying on campus, but actual classes start August 24th, and I'll get into the housing piece in a bit. How will labs work? Please check with your faculty. This is very course specific. I believe we'll probably have separate Zoom sessions with either programs or school coordinators because this is going to become a lot more granular. Anna, do you want to talk a little bit about that before I go to the next question?
At this point, we are constructing exactly that. The different programs are reacting to the news, are reacting to the changes, and are creating a program-specific modality that is going to say when, how many times, what, all of the details. And once we get those pieces ready to go, the programs will contact the students in that program directly because each program is going to be different. I don't know, mechanical engineering is not nursing. They are totally different situations, needs and requirements that will be very specific. What are the days, when, how? So please have a little patience. Sometime next week, sooner rather than later, you will be getting a communication from your program directly. So please, please, please check your email. This is the time to keep your fingers on it because there's going to be direct communication from the programs, but there's also general communication from the college. So you really want to be on top of your email for the time being, this is really critical.
Thanks, Anna. And that actually answered the next question, so that's great. Following question, will my classmates be allowed to come to college to work on projects? During the lab weeks, it will be okay as long as social distancing and healthy precautions are observed. I would add to that, correct me if I'm wrong, but during non-lab weeks, no, they won't be allowed in the classrooms.
During non-lab weeks, students that are not assigned to be on campus that week will not be allowed to congregate. The only times when we will have you as a team here on campus will be during those lab times. If you need to work together on a project, my suggestion is that you either email, phone call, Zoom, find an alternate way that does not require you being physically together. Because if you're working on a project together, it's going to be very hard for you to be 6 feet apart and do all the stuff that needs to be done as part of the safety precautions. So we're going to try to keep that to a minimum.
Thanks, Anna. Next question, how will labs work for diesel students? The major requires many tools, having to move them 3 times, it will be difficult. We're developing the plan at the moment. The department faculty will contact you once it's ready. Next question, will lectures and labs take place the same week? Not for the same classes. However, other classes will continue as scheduled. English still goes on while you're doing, while you're in campus doing mechanical. So those were the academic questions, and we will definitely have time to answer more about academics in the chat. Next one, oh, go ahead, Anna, yeah.
One thing that I wanted to kind of reinforce the idea that programs are where the information is coming from. For example, if you're taking a program class that requires that you're here on campus for a lab, then the other classes that you're going to be taking are going to know that and are going to adapt to it. So for example, if one week you're really working hard on the labs, the other classes will probably go lighter, not request like you submit a good paper or have a big test or anything like that. So your faculty are working as a team, trying to organize this in the most efficient and painless way for all of you. We know that this is complicated on its own, but we're trying to simplify it as much as we can.
Thanks, Anna. The next is a general college question. Is the college going to have a financial impact on the college and could jeopardize it remaining open permanently? So I would say this will definitely have a financial impact, but we've been very fortunate that the state of Vermont is helping us out through this process. We presented to them, our Dean of Administration did kind of 3 scenarios. This would be the worst case scenario, but they are aware of this, and I expect we will see state support. Pat probably can answer better than I can, though.
Yeah, I mean, just to say, yes, this will have a financial impact, but no, it will not jeopardize the longevity of the college. You may have heard that we're undertaking a transformation planning process now. The legislature has committed to providing funding for the state college system, to provide essentially a bridge year to enable us to do the planning and start implementing our transformation so that we can have a sustainable financial model given demographic changes and other preference changes that students are having. But so you should not worry about the college running into deep financial situations such that we would be closing. That's not an eventuality we anticipate at all.
Thanks, Pat. The next set of questions revolve around COVID-19. So I want to make sure a few people are unmuted. Bob Sivrit is our coordinator of health services. Bob, are you able to talk? No, maybe.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
Oh,
Yeah.
There he is. Excellent. And then is Sarah Billingsburg happen to be on the line, or Jill? If they are, we would love to unmute them. I don't see everybody's faces. So, well, Bob's here. So I will say before I get into these questions, we have a reopening planning team that has been meeting since the beginning of May, talking about all of the proper precautions to take. Bob is our coordinator of health services. Sarah is associate dean of nursing, although her job is to really run the nursing program. She's been helping us out since she actually is a Doctor of Nursing. And then Jillian Gold just got hired as our COVID-19 coordinator, helping to draft plans for us. So I think they'll be good to, even though they're not on this call, good experts to really help us craft this plan. So we have 3 healthcare professionals that are making sure we're doing everything appropriately. So I just want to make sure people knew that. But so the first question, will commuters be required to test prior to and throughout the times they're on campus for labs and clinicals? So we're currently finalizing our plan, but that plan currently includes all students testing before they come to campus for the first time and submitting results to Bob, our coordinator of health services. The college is required by the governor to test all students who are on campus after 7 days. So we will be coordinating that. If you're coming for the labs and they're not lasting longer than 7 days, we don't anticipate we would be testing you because you'd be leaving before that happens, but we're going to ask everybody before they come to test. We're also going to be asking those coming from labs more than once to get tested each time before you come, just to make sure nobody's picked up the virus. Next question, if I'm going to reside in Randolph the entire semester, how far in advance prior to arrival should I get the test? So we're telling people you're going to at least need to do it 48 hours. You may want to do it up to a week before you come, because you want to make sure that you can get your test results before you come to campus. You're going to need to provide to us the test results, or else you're not going to be allowed to come to campus. So if you're in an area where it takes a little bit longer to get those test results, make sure you plan that out in advance. We will provide information for everybody in Vermont. There are pop-up testing sites where you can go get them on the fly. The results may not be available right away though, so you want to contact those. If you live locally, Gifford Hospital does offer free testing, which is great. You can, you do need to schedule in advance, but you can call them and get your testing there. We do ask though, once you've had your test, that first off, that you quarantine 7 days before you get your test. And then once you've had your test, you can continue quarantining until you actually come to campus. The worst thing would be for you to go get a test. It shows that you're negative, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, awesome, I'm gonna go out partying tonight now to celebrate that. And then you get infected. So please keep the quarantine going till you come to campus. If I'm going to reside in Randolph the entire semester, will the post 7 days test be done on campus? Yes, if you're coming to stay from us from a risky county, you're going to have to come in advance and actually be tested day 1. Everybody else, though, that's staying all semester long, you're going to be tested on day 7. If I'm going to reside in Randolph the entire semester, why do I have to be tested prior to coming to the school when the state is allowing travel from other states in New England with quarantine, as long as the county a person is traveling from has no more cases than Vermont? So as I've said before, we're actually going to ask everyone to get tested, not just out of state, even in-staters, because we want to make sure nobody has the virus. It's the best way to ensure a safe environment. We are required to meet the governor's minimum regulations, but we're encouraged to go above and beyond that, and that's what we're doing here with the testing. What if a student tests positive? Is there a plan to send students home and shut down, or is there a plan to work around it? Yes, absolutely, we have plans. So if a student tests positive, they're either going to need to leave campus immediately, and that's our preference, to go back home if you can. But we understand, if you're coming from distance, that might not be readily available for you to get home right away. So we have a separate quarantine section location on campus away from where we're housing the regular students, that's secured. So we will be able to quarantine and house you until you can get home. Those who have non-incidental contact with somebody that has tested positive will be quarantined in their room until they can be tested. So it's likely that if somebody that's on a floor that's sharing a bathroom tests positive, that whole floor will need to be locked down and you quarantine in your room until we can get you tested. If a commuter student tests positive, they're not going to be allowed to come to campus for a certain period of time. We're still working out that length. The recommended length of time I've heard from the state is at least 60 days. But we will definitely work with you academically to make sure you can continue learning. It may mean that you have to make up the labs at another point, but we want to make sure you can still be academically successful if you're not too sick and you can continue on. If the number of cases increase and the campus closes, how will the state students be given notice that they have to leave? So this is very important. All of our communication, email is our primary form of communication. You need to be checking your college email regularly. I would recommend you set it up to your phone and you're checking it, on an hourly basis, if not more often. There is another option too, though. We have an alert system that students can sign up for, which actually sends text messages directly to their phone. So I think I saw email on the line, our director of public safety. If email can be unmuted, and if he wants to give us a little more information on the alert system, that might be useful.
Yep. Hello, this is Emil Fredette. The alert system, we will be able to use the alert system to send out notifications. Should there be, something fairly important, we're not going to send out regular everyday messages through the alert system, but if there's an important message, like, we need to either evacuate or people need to leave or whatever, we will send a message like that out on the emergency alert system. You can sign up through the portal. Go to the public safety webpage and we can give you directions from there on how to sign up to get emergency alert messages.
And we'll get an email out to you in advance of classes to make sure you have the ability to sign up for that as well. But email is the primary means of communication. Make sure you're checking that, because that would be the first place it goes out. Is it really safest to send everybody home periodically? If we were testing everyone when they get to school, isn't it better to keep everyone at school instead of sending them home to places like Bennington that have higher rates? It would certainly save a lot of people, I know, a lot of grief, and potentially save the school money, which would be spent on testing equipment. So we did spend a lot of time discussing this, and we really believe that having a smaller number of students living on campus, living in close proximity, is going to help to limit the potential spread. Having no in-person lectures and labs limits the number of students on campus and in locations at one time. We did, as Pat said, we did make this decision based on public health, not financial. But if you're concerned that your home is of higher risk, we strongly encourage you to apply to stay on campus all semester. Put that request in writing to student affairs. If you're in a county that is a higher risk, let us know. That's a reason that you should be staying on campus. So I will open this one up to Bob if there's anything additional from a healthcare perspective you'd like to answer on that, Bob.
Not really, Jason. I think you pretty well covered it.
Okay. So our next set of questions have to do with dining hall. So I try to answer these to the best of our ability. Please remember that our dining hall, though, we have a separate corporation, Sodexo, that is our partner. So we work closely with them. We obviously drive some of the policies, but some of the things regarding costs have to be negotiated. So some of these answers are not fully finished, I would say. And I don't think Joe or Sarah are on the line. Did anybody see Joe or Sarah from Sodexo? So I'll take these then.
No.
Will the dining hall be open for students who reside in the residence hall for labs only? Yes, that's our plan. We do need to work out an agreement with Sodexo since it's contractual. We should have more specifics very soon, but yes, our plan is definitely to have the dining hall open for students that are here for labs only. Will there be meal plans available for students in the residence hall for labs only? Yes, there will be meal plans for students for labs and possibly beyond that. Hours and service will be announced soon, as well as costs. So yeah, both of those living there all year long, as well as those coming in for labs, will be fed through the dining hall. If there's a meal plan for the lab weeks, what is the charge? Again, because it's contractual with Sodexo, we don't know yet, but there will be a charge and we will work that out. I would hope we'll have that answer for you, as well as the housing costs within the next week or so. What kind of meals should we expect for the labs? Our hope is that we'll be providing similar to what we offer during the normal year, but there may be, there will be, I should say, a to-go option, because we're going to have to limit the number of students in the dining hall. So it would be the same type of thing that you've been used to, both hot food as well as salads, subs, vegetarian options. There's a lot of great options in the dining hall, but we're not going to be able to have as many people sit down and eat there, so there will be a to-go option. What is the dining hall situation? Students will need to wear masks while they're in line, while they're getting food. As I said, there'll be a grab and go option as well as in person. Right now, the governor's mandate only allows us to have capacity at 50% in the dining hall. So if that remains, obviously, everyone won't be able to eat at the same time. So we're going to ask people to spread out when they're there. So, financial aid. So I'm going to answer these, and then if there are additional questions, I know some of the financial aid folks are on the line, but I think we should be able to accommodate this. What is going to happen for the spring semester so we can financially get financial aid correct? So with things constantly changing, we can't accurately predict what spring is going to look like right now. So we anticipate by October, we're going to have a better standing of where things are both in the state and the country, and then we'll start to formulate our plan for the spring. So our hope is truly to be back face to face in the spring, but I couldn't tell you what that would be like right now. So trying to say, yeah, everybody's going to be back living on campus, that's what our dream is, but I don't know if that's an accurate reality. So next we're going to move into housing questions, and I want to make sure that Mary Catherine and Nancy introduce themselves and you know who they are, and they can help if I need to answer anything else. So Mary Catherine, are you able to unmute?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us here this afternoon. I'm Mary Catherine, Associate Dean for Outreach and Support and Title IX Coordinator.
And Nancy, are you able to unmute?
I am. Nancy Giles. I'm the Administrative Assistant in the Student Affairs Office. Currently located in Maury Hall, but we may be moving to Conant with CAS. So we will be hopefully before school opens. I have worked for the college for quite a long time, and if I don't know the answer, I know who does. So we're here to help you. It's great to see all of the new incoming students. Welcome to Vermont Tech, and we will make it through this.
Thanks, Nancy. And she definitely knows the answers or knows who to go to. So I would say when you're emailing student affairs, these are the people that are going to be answering your questions. Mary Catherine does the room placement. We don't have a director of life now, so she's kind of acting in that role. Nancy does all the billing. So these are some of the experts that are going to help you out. There are additional staff members in student affairs as well that get those, but those are the key people for residence life. So I wanted to make sure you knew who they were, and they definitely can help with these answers as well. So first question, if we're in one of the in-person learning programs, professional pilot, can we forego staying in the residence hall for the time we're scheduled to be on campus and commute from the local area? So the answer is yes. People are not going to be required to live on campus except for, and this is important, if you're coming from a county that is high risk, you are going to be required to live on campus. We don't want people commuting back and forth from a high risk county. We want you to come to campus. We want you to stay for the duration. But everybody else that's not from a high risk county, you are not required to live on campus, and you do need to make that request to live on campus because we're limiting the amount that are going to be here. The next question, I'm a dental hygiene student from Clinton County, New York. Do I move in early? So Clinton County is not currently considered a high-risk county, so no, you would not have to move in early. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat a link to the Vermont State Department of Health, which actually shows if you would be in a high-risk county. You can go look at that. The state has determined anybody with more than 400 cases per million per capita is considered high risk. So feel free to go in and take a look at that map. That should help you to answer that question. I looked up because somebody asked about Clinton, but I wanted to make sure to provide that map so you know as well. How will housing for out-of-state students come for labs work in Randolph? So if you're out of state, you can request to live on campus for the full semester. We're currently taking requests through student affairs at vtc.edu. Mary Catherine, if you don't mind, can you type that in the chat so people know how to get a hold of us?
It's been in the chat for quite some time.
Thank you. I haven't looked at the chat.
That's okay. That's okay.
So You do have to make the request. You will be approved, but it takes a little bit of time. We're taking the request now, so you're not going to hear back immediately. But if you're out of state, that's one of the categories you'll get approved for. So out-of-state students will be one of the categories that are approved to stay all semester long. So if you're from out of state in low-risk counties, it's your choice, though. You don't have to come here to live the full semester long. And you don't necessarily have to come for just the weeks for the lab, but I would recommend that might be in your best interest. So for example, my family lives in South Glens Falls, New York. It's about 2 hours from campus. I have a place in town where I stay because 2 hours driving in and out each day would be a bit problematic. So I would recommend you probably want to live there, but it's up to you. If I reside in the residence hall in Randolph, will I only be able to go to my room in the dining hall? So no, there's going to be places that are available for you. So after any required quarantine that you have to do, and that's the required quarantine is for out of state coming from hotspots. After that's done, you'll be able to go about the campus. Places on campus that'll be open will be the campus center. Shape Gym will be open. Student-facing offices will be open. So offices like student affairs, key student services will be open. Where you won't be able to go is the academic buildings, except for during the lab time. Those buildings will be locked down, and a lot of buildings will be locked down. Emil, do you want to add anything on that, being the person that actually locks the buildings down?
Not really. I think you hit it up. We're trying to prevent, any spread of COVID in the buildings. That's the reason why the academic buildings are locked when nobody's in there. So yeah, the offices, stuff like that will be open. Campus center, we'll have hours set on that, probably 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. is normally what we're open, and we'll look at that. And I think, that's about it.
Thanks, Emil. If I reside in Randolph, can I go to the store in town? So yes, absolutely. You can go to the stores in town. We're recommending that students stay within a 10-mile radius of campus. And then we will be requiring that you do not travel out of state or to any counties in the state that become hotspots. So once you move, if you're staying for the duration of the semester, once you move in, we want you to stay in the local area. We don't want you traveling out of state or to hotspot counties, but sure, we definitely understand you're going to want to be able to go up to Shaw's and, do some grocery shopping or things like that. When do out-of-state students who will reside on campus the entire semester arrive in Randolph? So if you're coming from a hotspot county, August 12th is the day that you'll be moving in. Or if you're coming from a non-hotspot county, but you can't travel directly to campus in your own personal vehicle with no stops. So we need to get you here without going to possible hotspots. So that would be August 12th. If you're not coming from a hotspot county and you're living on campus all semester long, it would be August 22nd would be move-in weekend. For new students, August 23rd for returners, and then classes start on the 24th. If you're coming just for the lab periods, we will get you that information to be determined because we haven't figured out when the labs will go on. So those are the different dates. Out of state, coming from a hotspot, August 12th. Coming to live for the duration of the campus, August 22nd or August 23rd if you're a returner, and then labs to be determined. Mary Catherine, anything I'm missing on that one?
No, I'm typing that into the chat.
Perfect, thank you. Can we bring other people to help us move in? If yes, how many? So yes, if you're staying for the semester, you can bring one person to help you move in. We are expecting that both you and the person should follow proper quarantine protocol before coming to campus, not traveling to hotspots, not traveling out of state. If you've got, your big family vacation plan to Florida, please cancel that. Like, that's just not appropriate. We need you to come to campus and be safe, but you're allowed to bring one person with you as long as they're following that protocol. If you're coming just for the lab weeks, you should not bring anybody to help you to move in. If for some reason you believe you need an exemption of this to bring one person, please email student affairs at VTC. The idea behind this is that lab weeks are going to be short and intensive, so you should not have a lot of belongings that you need to move in. But if there's some reason you need an exemption, email us, we'll talk to you. We obviously understand there could be different cases there. When do we inform the college we would like to live on campus for the lab week? So we would ask that you inform us ASAP. An email went out yesterday saying email student affairs at see if you know you want to stay for the lab weeks. But we also understand that we haven't announced what the prices are and we haven't announced for what the food would be. So although we would love you to tell us ASAP, there won't be a deadline until probably mid-August. We'll give you a few weeks after we announce what the costs are to make that determination if it's the best for you. But if you know for sure that's what you want to do, email us, let us know, and we can start planning accordingly. If you need a little bit of time to figure that out, that's fine. Or if you're sure you don't want to be here, let us know. That's helpful too. So, Mary Catherine, does that sum up what we talked about earlier?
That's great. So yeah, we would rather you let us know more information than not. So never hesitate to email us, over email us. That's perfectly fine.
Yep. The next set of questions are technology related, and I don't have pre-answered questions. So if Kelly Campbell, our Chief Technology Officer, is online, I'd love to read the questions and then give her the opportunity to answer. Kelly, are you available?
I am, Jason. Hi.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. So the first question is, what kind of technology works best? So how would you want to start with that one?
That's a great question. So a couple things we're going to be doing, and I think that will probably answer some of your questions. We're going to be putting out, once again, a student preparedness survey, which we did put out in the spring. And that asks some basic questions. We know students are all over the map in terms of internet, laptops, different hardware and software to successfully complete their courses. So we will be sending that out over email. We'll work with Jason's team, and we're going to ask for you to spend a few minutes responding to that because that really positions us to best support you. In addition, we are going to be ramping up some student workshops and training sessions. I think many of you use different tools such as the learning management system Canvas. You're familiar with different software and tools for your programs, but Zoom, for example, another one, but we don't want to assume that. So we are going to offer some training and workshops that will be recorded for students who might want some support about how to best engage in those tools. And last but not least, we have some student onboarding resources that we're working with your faculty to implement in some of the courses. Really some best practices and tips to help you with this transition. And so that information will be coming out as well very soon. But as I'm sure you're getting the theme here today, do not hesitate to reach out and contact us. All of your programs and your faculty, we are working with them and also offering support through them. We'll get back to you as soon as we can, and happy to support you in any way we can.
Thanks, Kelly. And just one last question for you. Nursing students should avoid Chromebooks. So I don't know if this is a question or a statement. Should nursing students avoid Chromebooks? Their testing software is not compatible. Do you know that one?
Yeah, so for any of you in the nursing program, I think that's a pretty well-known thing. There is a link if you go to the VTC website and you go to the IT section, we have a suggested laptop requirements page. So if you are wanting to reference that, you can check that out there.
Thanks, Kelly. Next one is the library. The question is, will it be open? If so, can we use the study rooms? And Anna, our academic team, is probably the best to answer this one.
We are currently looking at study spaces and spaces for commuters in between classes. So for example, the week that you are on campus, if you have a lab that ends at noontime and another lab doesn't start until 1, well, what do you do during that hour? If you wanna go to the library or you wanna do some work or whatever, that is something that we are working on. So we don't have the final decision at this point about the physical space of the library and what the times are going to be and how is it going to be organized. So we'll get back to you on that. However, there's another side of the library that is the services that the library provides. And a lot of those services are already online and have been online in the past. So you can do a lot of the library referencing and searches using their online and contacting a librarian online, so on and so forth. So all of those will continue as they were. And if there's any changes or any updates, please check the website. You will see there what are the latest updates. And as soon as we have a decision about the physical space opening, we will share with you.
Thanks, Anna. Next question has to do with the Shape, our gym. The question is, will it be open? And I mentioned before, we're planning for Shape to be open for students, faculty, and staff. We're not sure about the general public. We want to weigh and measure if that could be a health risk for us or not. Next set of questions have to do with student accounts. So I did work with our key student service folks on answers to this. So even though this isn't necessarily my area of expertise, I should be able to hopefully answer these for you. Where do I go to view my bill and how do I pay it? So instructions for paying your bill can be found online. I have the link, but would somebody from Key Student Services mind putting the link into the chat box? Or anybody that has it.
I think Jeannie's working on it. So.
Awesome, thank you. Next question, will there be a fee for the hotel-like accommodations? We did mention there will be a charge for room and meals. We should have that cost out soon. I'm hoping in the next week or so. Will tuition be discounted to align with the online tuition costs? So no, the tuition rates are not affected for remote delivery. And the reason for this is because the cost for us to provide online learning is actually not less than in person. In some cases, it can be even more because we have to have all the equipment and everything. So no, there is no reduction in cost.
On tuition, Jason, yeah, you want to be clear. The tuition will not be discounted because our cost to deliver, we're still paying faculty salaries. We're still covering the costs of making sure we could deliver remote. And as Jason said, in many cases, we're spending more money in technology to make things better for you all. So tuition will not be discounted. Room and board will be adjusted based on the duration you're here in campus, but not the tuition.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Thanks for clarifying, Pat. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tuition only. Why are the course and lab fees so high if all lectures are online and labs are limited to 3 weeks? So as indicated in the catalog, course fees offset the cost of special projects or equipment for certain courses, and there will be no changes to this line item. Labs are still being implemented, albeit online and face-to-face. There are costs associated with this delivery.
And if I could add to Jason, this is another one where in some cases we might be sending at-home kits home with you for maybe 1 or 2 labs, or we may have to look at some more innovative solutions because we're only going to have you here for a short period of time. So that's why those lab fees are going to remain intact.
Next question, if I'm not going to reside in the residence hall, will room and board be taken off my bill prior to when it's due? So right now we're taking requests for students to live in the residence hall for the duration of the semester. That's due by July 27th for students who want to live for the full semester. So if you want to stay on campus, please make sure you make this request by 5 p.m. on July 27th. After that date, bills will be adjusted. So you'll be able to see in live and self-service your change of bill. So we're not changing it today because we're still trying to figure out who wants to stay there. But after that due date of making that request, we will adjust your bill. So it's going to happen. It's just 10 days from now. Excuse me. If I know I'm not going to request to reside in the residence hall the entire semester, what should I do? So if you know for sure you don't want to live in the residence hall right now, please email studentaffairs@vtc.edu stating that you're going to commute. That'll help us out. Once we pass the July 27th date, if you haven't requested to stay the duration, we'll take you off because you haven't requested. We're not allowing people to stay here, but we haven't set a deadline of when you have to let us know for the labs. That'll be coming soon. Once you know we're staying in the residence hall, yeah, sorry, we covered that one already. How much does it cost to stay in the residence hall for the lab? So it's definitely going to be lower for this full semester, but I don't think it's going to be a direct correlation to you take the full semester and you divide it by 14 and you're here for 1 week, here's what you're going to get billed. Because you got to realize there's going to be additional costs for us to prep the rooms, to clean them, to get them ready. But it'll be significantly lower than if you were staying the full semester. So once we have the lab information of when they'll take place, that helps us to know how many students we're going to anticipate. We can work with our food service provider to find out what the meals will cost and everything. So it is my sincere hope that within the next week, we should have information on this. How will the charges change since there'll be no clubs? So this charges will not change for student activity fees because that's inaccurate. There still will be clubs. There's still going to be student activities for all locations. It's just going to be, some of it will be in person and some of it will be remote delivery. So for the students that are staying on campus the full semester, there's going to be things we're going to do for you here on campus, like keeping Shape open, like doing some other programs. We've already been looking at a comedian for the first week of classes where it'll be a small amount that'll be allowed to see him or her live because we have to social distance, but then we'll zoom it out. But we're also going to be planning activities remotely. We did some bingos last semester, which were a pretty big hit. You sign on remotely, you do the bingo, and then we mail the prizes to your house. So we've been looking at maybe doing some escape rooms remotely. We definitely hope our clubs are still going to be active. They may not meet in person as much, but we hope our student council is going to be active. So we still want to be able to provide those fun activities for you. Will the payment date be moved? So yes, we did adjust our bill date now. Originally it was due August 1st. Now it's August 21st. So that's indicated on the website to give you a little bit more time. So the next set of questions have to do with student activities. We do have a coordinator of student activities, Dana. She's not available today. So I tried to answer this for her, but she could definitely provide some more answers. But will there be activities? And I said this already, yes, we'll be planning a variety of activities, both in person and remotely for all campuses. We hope to support clubs with both in person and remote, and we hope to have Shape open for at least the students that are on campus. VAST, there was a question, what will the procedures regarding labs and meetings for VAST students who commute? Anna, you want to take that one? I didn't get a chance to talk to Steve. I can repeat it if you didn't hear me. It was, what will the procedures regarding
No, I heard it. I couldn't unmute myself fast enough. At this point, we haven't had that conversation yet because we are in the process, as we said before, of getting the different program information. Once we have that, Steve Eroldi, that is our contact person for VAST, he will be touching base with you so that you know the specifics. But for that is only going to happen once we have the specifics of the different programs. So sometime next week, again, check your email and Steve will be in contact with you.
And if I might add to Jason and Anna, thank you, Anna, but the same rules of if you want to live on campus or commute apply to VAST students. I mean, you are a Vermont Tech student, so same thing in terms of if you live in a hotspot or you are not able to get decent connectivity at home, or maybe you're home insecure, whatever the case might be, you can still apply to be on campus. But yes, the program specific data will come later.
Thanks, Anna and Pat. And the last question was for Williston, how do I get my ID? I know Jean Marie had emailed. I didn't put that into my notes. Jean Marie, do you happen to be online and want to cover that?
Is she on? Yes, she is online. So you need
Jean
to
Marie is
unmute
our dean of the
Jean
Williston campus.
Here I am. Thanks, everybody. I just wanted to say that we are working on the ID disbursement for folks at the Williston campus. We're working with our IT staff to upgrade the ID making system. So once that has been done, we'll be in touch and communicate with our students about how they can and what the process will be to get their student IDs.
Thanks, Jean Marie. All right, so those were our pre-prepared questions that people sent, and we were able to come up with answers in advance. But now we're happy to go on the fly. I see a lot probably came into the chat. I wasn't looking because I'm doing this. So what I would ask is if Michelle Graham, who's our assistant to the president, can ask the questions, I can moderate. If I know the answer, I'll take it. If not, I'll try and hand off to a member of the executive team that might be able to answer, or somebody in a specific office that might be able to answer.
Thank you, Jason. I see that several of the chat questions have already been answered, but I will make sure that based on the type of question in the chat that we also clarify here again as necessary. So thank you. The first clarifying question would be, if you live in a county with many cases, what do you do?
If you live in a county with many cases, come live with us on campus. We would much rather have you here than commuting back and forth.
Can you also clarify and define the type of test these students are required to take? Is it the Q-tip up your nose or just a temp reading test?
So we'll take anything at this point because we know tests are not the easiest to get. But my understanding is the nasal is the most accurate. So that would be my recommendation. But I'll also defer to Bob if he wants to share any additional information on that.
Let's also just be clear. There's a difference between a scan, which is your temperature check, and a test, which actually tests for whether the virus is present. The scan is only part, it's asking what your temperature is. We'll then ask you other questions. Employees have to be scanned daily, but the actual test is either the nasal, and there's two different types of nasal tests as I understand it, Bob, and I'll turn it over to you. So are we unmuting Bob?
And this, I should say, the scan is going to have to happen self-scan, where you take your temperature each day. That's going to happen, and you're going to have to report that through our Castle Branch website. More information will be coming on that, but we want to make sure people aren't either having a fever or having any of the symptoms. But like Pat said, that's completely different than an actual test.
This is Mary Catherine. Bob had to step away for a moment.
Yeah, I'm back here. I think.
Okay.
He's back.
Okay, I'm at home right now. It will depend on where you get your test. Gifford, they do the nasal swab. Some other sites do it differently. So it'll be the swab will be the preferred test.
But we'll accept any of them, right? As long as it's
right. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. That's the easiest one, is the nasal swab. And if they do come to campus, then it would be the same thing.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're on campus and you're getting tested after 7 days, we'll be doing that test, and that should be a nasal swab because we'll be partnering with Gifford.
Gifford, yes. Okay.
Great.
Gifford is the local hospital for your benefit.
And they will do anybody in the state. It is no charge.
Right.
They have a grant, and you do not have to be from Orange County or Randolph. If you can make the arrangements before you get here, and they can fit you in, you can have it done there.
It does require an appointment, so you
Right.
have to call
Yes.
to make an appointment, but you can get tested regardless of where in Vermont you
Where
are.
you just call the switchboard at Gifford, and they will set you up with the person to make the appointment.
What happens to the vet tech students that still need their rabies shots and we're planning to get them at the school? If they don't have an appointment yet, but was wondering if the school would still be doing that for those students.
I can answer that because I've been in touch with both Stephanie DeRosco and Craig Stallnaker, who are department chairs of Vet Tech, and that's a question to be determined. This is all new information to our faculty in the last week to 10 days, so they're scrambling to get as many answers for you as possible. So patience, we will be in touch with you with specific information about that for our Vet Tech students. So hang on, we'll get back to you on that.
Can you also confirm if a student is an RA, where do they apply and get their housing on campus? I understand that Student Affairs will be sending more information out about that.
I replied to that student privately.
Yes, I saw that. I was just
Okay.
trying to answer for everyone else who might also be on.
So I guess I could say we'll be reaching out to the RAs. Mary Catherine will be.
Great, thanks. How does this affect student senior projects? How is that going to work if they have to produce a tangible product at the end of the semester and not physically be able to be on campus?
Faculty will adjust what the deliverables are and what that final project is going to look like. So again, that is going to be very much class specific. So talk to your faculty member. You will be getting information from them, but if you have any further question, that's the way to go. Talk to your faculty member about it.
This question was in regards to student activities and facilities being on campus. I believe we answered that. Nursing students will be attending labs or clinical weekly. Jason just said that on-site weeks require COVID tests before those weeks. We can't be expected to be tested weekly, right?
Nursing students will have to have an initial test, and any second-year nursing students can please jump in here if you will, but we also have a service through Castle Branch where you self-attest every day as to your temperature and you answer those questions. So this will require honest self-attesting by students so that we know, and especially since you'll be going into hospital situations and settings. If you have a temperature that is above normal, you should consult with your primary care physician, but you will get more instruction on this from each individual nursing program as well. But you will be expected to self-attest daily, so you will have to take your temperature daily before you come into the hospital or to the labs.
Can I also add, I've been in contact with Sarah, our Associate Dean in Nursing, about questions from students that are traveling to nursing sites from hotspot counties. So that is really going to take you quarantining and not traveling except for you come directly to the site and then you go directly home. Otherwise, it's better that you don't come to us this fall. You know, we want to be able to still provide you the education, but you can't be putting others at risk, especially if you're a nurse. I hope you understand that.
If I live in Vermont, how often should I expect to be on campus, and will there be overnights?
So I believe it's up to 3 weeks, but it depends on the academic program. Some programs you won't have to come at all, like business, I believe isn't going to have any labs. But so we're trying to limit it to no more than 3 weeks, but that's still to be determined. And yes, you can stay overnight if you so choose in the low residency housing.
But here again, we're going to ask you to make that decision before you come, whether you're going to stay over, not daily, so that we can make sure you're tested and that we can assign you a room that's been sanitized. So it isn't, well, tonight I don't feel like driving back, I'll stay over. It doesn't really work that way. We need to know you're coming for the whole week or you're not coming, or whatever duration of that whole week your program requires.
Yeah, great point. Great point, Pat. Similar to what we're asking of the students that are staying all semester, those that are staying all week, you're here, you stay all week. If you want to stay, you don't go home. If you don't want to do that, then you commute the whole time.
Depending on the program, it will be from 0 to 3 weeks. Again, that is going to be program specific and you would be getting information from the program. Some programs have decided that they will be able to do everything remotely. Some programs have need for 1, 2, or 3 weeks, and that information will be forthcoming.
Can you clarify if you have to quarantine after the test if you live in Vermont?
So if you're going to be living on our campus, yes, you should. If you're commuting, no, you're not required as long as you're not in a hotspot county.
If a student decides to stay in a hotel-style dorm on campus for a week of labs, how much will it cost the student?
As I mentioned earlier, that will be announced in the next week or so.
Yeah, we're still figuring that out, and it will likely be a weekly rate. So stay tuned. More information to come.
If I live in New Jersey and I was going to live on campus and my major is software programming, so that plan was before I was going to come to August 12th to quarantine for 2 weeks and get tested, is that going to change? And will I have to file to stay on campus since I can't really commute? We just sort of answered that, sorry.
Yeah, so no, that's not going to change, but you'd have to make that request. Email studentaffairs@vtc.edu.
Jason, just a question. Is that true for students who may have already signed up from out of state for residential? Or
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want
we're
everyone to
asking
read?
everybody to reach out to us just so we know.
Yeah, perfect.
Sorry, just scrolling through the ones that we've already answered. How do I set up my email on my phone? I believe Kelly Campbell answered that question already, and she provided the link to the support site in the chat. Kelly, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Michelle, can I suggest, those are great questions, but maybe they reach out to the departments. I don't want to spend too much time on like general orientation questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Do out-of-state students need to file anything to stay on campus?
Yeah, you have to email vtc@studentaffairs.edu.
Will the kitchens in residence halls be open for students staying on campus?
Mary Catherine, did we make a final decision on that?
At this point, the kitchens will not be open.
That's again to avoid spread and assure clean environments, and it's just hard to police that when we have multiple people using the kitchens.
Will it be mandatory to have a meal plan when you're on campus for lab weeks?
So we're still working out the logistics with Sodexo, but I would bet it probably will, because we're not going to want to have people coming and going from campus. We want them to stay there. The other thing is the lab weeks are going to be very intensive. You're going to be probably doing up to 8 hours of labs. So I don't think you're going to want to then zip out to, you know, Applebee's or something. But I don't think I can definitively say that because we haven't negotiated our contract with Sodexo.
Stay tuned for more information. Sorry to have to keep saying that, but we're still working out all the details because this is a relatively recent decision. So apologies that we don't have all these answers, but you know we'll have them coming to you.
Can you also confirm that the students need to have the results within a week of the 24th?
So we need to
Test results.
We need to have them submitted to us, I would say by Friday, which is the 23rd. So it really depends on how long it takes your provider to get you the results. So you might want to start reaching out now. Like Gifford has told us they can get results within 48 hours. But I've heard other providers, it takes 5 to 7 days. So we need to make sure there is a clear test. You know, if you're staying for the duration and you're planning to move in on the weekend of the 22nd, we would need that on file the day before Friday, the 21st.
So there are some other clarifying questions that have been touched on, but just to double check that the students understand. If students live out of state and are in an area that is defined as low risk, when should they move onto campus?
They can move the normal move-in weekend, the 22nd.
You touched on clubs a little bit. Can you just confirm that details from Student Affairs will be coming from that?
Yeah, Dana will be providing that information once the semester starts.
What weeks will the labs be?
Anna, you want to cover that one?
Yep, you're muted, Anna.
I'm just having a bad time unmuting myself today. So could you read it again, please, Michelle?
Of course, they just wanted to confirm something you mentioned earlier in regards to what weeks the labs will be.
Again, there's going to be from 0 to 3 weeks. So depending on the program, you may only have 1 week, or you may have 2 weeks, or none at all. And that information will be coming to you from the program directly, because each program is going to have a different calendar.
And a little bit more clarification, it seems, is needed for commuter students, in particular Vermont commuting.
Sure. What's the specific question though?
They're just saying they need clarity for Vermont commuting.
I don't fully understand that. So
yeah, I mean, if you live in Vermont and within reasonable commute, you're certainly welcome to commute those lab weeks, assuming you don't come from a high-risk county, right, Jason?
yeah, absolutely.
If you come from a high-risk county, we're going to want you to either test or not come, and we can figure out some alternatives for you. But
or stay here the duration.
Or stay here for the duration of the semester or the duration of the week, right, Jason?
Yeah, I think it's the duration of the semester if you're coming from a high-risk county.
Right,
is
that's true.
The better bet.
Yeah, it's the safer bet. And if you, again, just if you are an immune compromised student or live with someone who is, and you're just not comfortable, we can make special arrangements for you, or if you become ill, but we'd like you to try to participate as much as you can in the remote and or residential labs.
And where can students reference this information after this meeting? An email or online?
So,
and I have put in the chat, we'll get the Q&A up on the website, and there was a suggestion whether we'd email, and I think we could probably email that as well. So, but that's going to take us a few days since there are a lot of new questions that have popped up today. So give us a little bit to transcribe the Q&A and get those out to you.
And I believe we're going to have this recording up on the website too. So if you missed the answer, you can go back and listen.
Who is paying for the COVID-19 testing?
So that's yet to be determined. What we have heard, but then there's been some backtrack, is that for those in Vermont that your insurance is supposed to cover it because this is a mandate from the governor. So what I would suggest right now you do is you go get the test, you try to see if your insurance will cover it. If not, keep the bill. We are not committing that we are reimbursing, but that's in the discussion. So keep whatever out-of-pocket expenses you have, but try to get your insurance to pay for it. Like I said, there is a grant at Gifford where you don't have to pay at all. I've heard that pop-up sites are free. And then if you're going other places, try to see if your insurance will cover it or not. But if you are out of pocket, keep that bill. And it's yet to determine if we're going to be able to reimburse. A lot of that will be dependent on if there is federal or state funds that we can absorb, so we're not taking on an astronomical cost. Pat, anything else you want to add on that one?
Well, we're going to try to have a list of pop-up sites that are available here in Vermont that you can check on our website, or you can go to the Vermont Department of Health, their website, and they have lists of pop-up testing sites. And once again, Gifford Hospital here in Randolph will do the test for you by appointment for anyone in Vermont, if you want to call and schedule that.
And it's probably a good idea to call and schedule that appointment soon.
Yes.
Right. They will fill up quick.
Yeah, because you got to realize it's not just us. Like, this is a requirement of every college in the state. So these hospitals are going to get inundated. So start calling now.
Yeah.
How will undeclared students have their labs arranged?
That's an excellent question. Any ideas, Anna?
It's a very good question, and it will depend on the classes that you're signed up for. My suggestion would be that you contact the faculty member that are assigned to those classes. Just send them an email. Not today, just give them another week, because part of the situation is if you're an undeclared student, chances are you're going to be taking classes that are more generic. And those classes are going to be the last ones assigning, because the programs are going to be the first ones. So for example, you're going to get the program lab dates assigned, and then you're going to get the English classes and the science classes build on top of that. So I would give it 1 week or so and then send an email to the faculty member that you are signed up with. You have that information in your schedule. And they will be able to reply to you saying, what are they doing? Some of them may say, we're doing everything remotely. Some of them may say, we are doing some physical presence. But chances are that the general education classes that are not specific to a program, most of them are going to be completely online.
If the bill won't be adjusted until after July 27th for housing, will the bill due date of August 1st be pushed back?
Yes, we pushed it back to August 21st.
Is there makeup time on labs for students that have a cold during that period?
When it comes to makeups for any reason, whether it's lab, lecture, assignments, each course will have its own description in the syllabus, and you need to contact the faculty member directly, because depending on the situation that you're in, let's say you got sick, or there's somebody that is in the National Guard and gets deployed. Those are very different situations, and we will work with you on trying to get you to the end of the semester successfully, but we need to consider those things on a one-on-one basis.
What about sports?
So we haven't made a final determination on sports, but I think it's pretty unlikely that they're going to happen given what's going on. The governor did not specifically say what sports could take place or not. The last I had heard is he was not going to allow any high contact sports, which would be our basketball program. It was questionable about incidental contact sports, which would be soccer, and low contact sports. It was sounding like it might happen. That would be cross country. But if I were to bet right now, we probably won't be having any, at least for the fall. We'll see as things progress if we're able to offer anything. But we're taking a very cautious approach to that. Pat, anything you want to add on it?
Yeah, as Jason said, the governor's due to release some guidance on athletics, but it's pretty much guaranteed any high contact sport, basketball, soccer, certainly football, which we don't have anyway, will not be happening. I mean, we're seeing this around the country that major sports leagues as well as NCAA and others are limiting athletics. So unfortunately, that may be a victim of COVID for this semester.
How do students declare that they are staying on campus?
Email studentaffairs@vtc.edu. You're not declaring, you're requesting, and we will get back to you.
And keep in mind, there may be some who get denied if we feel that it's perfectly possible for you to commute or to come up on a low residency. We are trying to limit the number of students in the res halls this fall. There's no question. Because it's the mass gathering and putting lots of people together in a small space where the risk comes from. But please write to Student Affairs and ask and provide your reasons why you would like to be there.
Can you just touch on the situation with the bookstore and if students can rent books still?
I believe they can still rent books. I don't think anything's changed there. I do know that the bookstore said that they can ship books home, as well as there are non-touch options for coming to campus to get the books. I would recommend that you email the bookstore directly and ask them, though, because they, like food service, they are a separate entity. We work very closely with them, but they operate on their own.
Yes, you can order the books. They can be delivered to your home, or you can do a curbside pickup if that's easier. And your textbook list will be provided by faculty, right, Anna? Yes, great.
When will student scholarships be reflected on the student bills?
Jeannie, you want to handle that one, or can you unmute Jeannie, Michelle?
She should be able to. Let me just double check.
Jeannie's our Director of Financial Aid and Key Student Services, so knows more about this than we do.
Jeannie, can you unmute yourself now?
Yep, she is.
Okay, I'm all set. I lost the question about scholarships. Can you repeat the question?
Yes, when will the scholarships be reflected on the bills?
Scholarships are reflected on bills currently. Any that are still pending, we post them as soon as we get confirmation that we're receiving the funds. If it is funding that is coming from an outside scholarship, it will not show up on the bill until we actually receive the funding.
Another similar question. Oh, sorry, that one's already answered. Will work studies and direct hire programs be available on campus?
Yes, I answered some of this in the chat. We are planning on having the full work study program, and as far as direct hires, I really can't answer to that, but for the federal work study program, we are planning on having students working on campus and at nonprofits off campus. Again, this is going to depend on what happens in the fall. We have already awarded all of our work studies funds to students. If you're a student interested in work study that was not initially awarded it, please check with us after the start of classes, as we will recoup some of the funds. But at this time, we don't know what types of positions we will have. It'll depend on what happens in the fall.
Jeannie, can I ask a follow-up on that? Would it be okay for some officers to work remotely? So I'm thinking in student activities, we have a work study student, but they could help us plan events via Zoom and things like that and not have to physically be here on campus. Is that allowable?
Absolutely.
What happens for commuters if our home county becomes a high-risk county over the course of the semester?
So the governor's mandate has a freeze as of August 1st of when we're required to say the county is a hotspot or not. That doesn't mean that we are not going to continue to monitor that and really try to put a squash on people coming from high-risk counties. But that's if we're following it to a T, that's the case. So you want to be on the lookout for that. Bob, do you want to say anything beyond that, though? You're muted, Bob.
Everybody's always muted.
Michelle is.
Can you unmute?
Yeah, Billy, there he goes.
Okay, I think that's it. We're going to be monitoring. I think that's a question we probably just need to clarify. If something changes in a county, depending on the situation, if the student is already here for that week's lab, that's no problem.
Yeah, if they're here, it's great. Just don't go home.
If suddenly, yes. And I think we would have to figure out if they're going to be gone the next 2 weeks with having completed the labs and then going home for a week or two or whatever the schedule is, then we just have to recheck before they come back.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons we're asking for the low residency to get tested again before you come here.
Yeah. And especially if it's a hotspot county, and that definitely would, the need is right there for that. So.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Another clarifying question in regards to testing. Will we need 3 tests, as I'm assuming we have 3 one-week lab periods?
Yes, but I don't know if every program, I know not every program is going to have 3 lab weeks. So I think you're going to have to find that out from your faculty members. Yeah. But back to the last question, like we want to make sure if people are coming back again, that they retest so we know that they haven't contracted the virus once they've been home.
Will transfer student housing credit be transferred to semesters when hybrid offering becomes an either or style offering?
I'm gonna ask Jeannie if she doesn't mind answering that one because I don't know.
I'm not fully clear about the question, but
I'm assuming this is the question of those who've been granted their transfer students that we're giving the free housing option to. So I suspect the answer to that question will be yes, And Jessica,
Oh, Jessica,
Jessica
yeah.
Van Daren is our Associate Dean of Admissions, Assistant Dean of Admissions, and she's prepared to answer this question. If we can unmute Jessica.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if students are still living on campus, then the housing scholarship would apply for this year. If students elect to not live on campus at all, we can have a conversation about applying that to a future term.
Thanks, Jessica.
I'll put my email address in the chat box so folks can email me directly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Just a clarifying question on what's considered an above normal temperature.
Above 100 degrees. Now, it used to be 104, but my understanding is it dropped by CDC guidelines.
Used to be 100.4, right? But
Yeah,
now
sorry,
it's
100.4.
yeah.
Now it's 100, right, Bob?
Yes, right. That's right, yes.
Just another clarifying question in regards to the on-campus lab weeks. Are these weeks spread out or are they 3 continuous weeks? If they are.
They will be staggered.
It will be spread out.
Yeah, spread out. Yeah. And that's primarily to facilitate you advancing in the lecture portion as the labs advance. So, and to give us time to sanitize in between.
If one tests positive for COVID and is unable to attend labs, will VTC work on a remote makeup option for this person in that section?
Again, that would be a question better addressed at the program level because some things can be made up immediately. Some things we may be able to have a remote option, and some things may need to be handled with an incomplete and then completed at a later time. It will depend on the kind of lab. It will depend on the time on the semester. So, but definitely we will work with you on getting you successfully to the end of the semester.
Will the dining hall be open for people arriving on the 12th?
It should be. We still need to work that out with Sodexo, but either the dining hall will be open or we'll have another food arrangement to make sure you're getting fed. We'll have to make sure we bring food to your room, though. We're not going to want you going there because you have to quarantine.
And how will that work in Williston if kitchens aren't going to be open?
For those arriving on the 12th, we're going to be asking them to come to Randolph and then go to Williston. If that's what the question is, or is there something else?
Yeah, if the kitchens aren't going to be open, what are you going to do at Williston dorms?
Yeah, I think that's a general question for throughout the semester, and I'm not sure we quite have the answer to that yet, unless
Well, the kitchens will be open in Williston. I'm sorry if we were confusing there. Yeah, there's no way because there's no dining hall there that we would shut them down. It's just Randolph where they wouldn't be open.
Yeah, so the kitchens will be open in Williston, but that means some real extra diligence in cleaning up before and after yourself. So, but great, they will be open.
Let's see. Just skipping over some repeats here. Hold on. We already answered the question in regards to technology.
Yeah, and there is a web address in the chat for technology. It's in there a couple of places.
If my doctors are located out of state, for example, Dartmouth, would I still be able to go to my appointments?
I would think that would be an exception. The only thing that we would ask is that you monitor to make sure that Dartmouth is not, or that county does not become a hotspot. But right now, I don't think it is, right, Bob?
No.
Yeah, the border communities on the eastern and western, mostly except southern New Hampshire, seem to be okay. But we will ask you to go to your appointment and come back and not do a lot of side trips to avoid possibly picking up any sort of contaminant.
How soon before our lab week can we be tested? Or how early can the test be for VTC to accept it?
So
Yeah, I've seen a question on what's the last date we would accept a test?
no, I think that's how early they could do the test.
And then there was a second question later on about what's the last date. So if we could answer them all at the same time, because I believe we're getting close to running out of time.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
I mean, if you need to do the test earlier, that's fine. But what we're asking is that you quarantine from the time you do the test until you come to campus. So if you need to do it a week or two in advance, that's okay. But then you need to plan to be at home, not traveling around, tramping around. So, like, I think you just need to figure out when's the best for you to test. I think we can accept, and I'm going to ask Bob to clarify because he's the one that you send these to. I think we can accept him up till the Friday before because we're open Monday through Friday before the Monday lab. Would that be acceptable, Bob?
Yeah, that'll work. Yes.
And then I think the last question is, if you stay on campus, you will not be allowed in the classroom. You will just be remote learning, correct? I assume you will attend class from your dorm room?
That's right. Yeah, except during those lab weeks.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Classrooms will be closed. And that's in part to enable our custodial staff to be available to do other cleaning in the lab and all the common areas. And that's part of it too. The cleaning frequency is increasing. So, and to enable proper cleaning and sanitization, we're trying to minimize the number of spaces as well as minimize the number of people on campus. And I think we're out of time, Michelle, but
Yes.
Please know that we are saving all of the chat questions and we will have those in the Q&A that we post on the website. So check back for more information. And just once again, lots of program specific questions and we understand that. And I'm sorry we don't have all those answers today, but you will get those answers well prior to the start of the semester. Give our faculty a little bit of time to be able to get some solutions formulated and get that information out to you. So I really am grateful for you all being here today and asking such great questions. We will get those answers to you. Be patient. Jason or Anna, anything you want to say as we wrap up here, or Mary Catherine?
I would just say if your question wasn't answered, please do email us at studentaffairs@vtc.edu. We want to make sure that we can answer anything that we can answer at the current moment. We get it out there. I do apologize that this is, not the easiest semester. We're going to do everything we can to make it as smooth as possible, but there are so many things that are just out of our control. So I apologize in advance, but we're going to make it through together and we're going to try and make the best experience you possibly can have.
And thank you for your flexibility and your patience. I know that is an overused phrase, but we are all in this together and we will do the best we can.
Great.
And again, thanks everyone. And please know there's lots of support for you and your families. And again, I know we're all using the word patience, but we certainly do appreciate it. And as Jason said, please email studentaffairs@vtc.edu. We will get back to you. A lot of you have been emailing during the chat, so please give us one day. Usually we're speedier than that, but at this point in time, it might take us a 24-hour period, please.
And most of all, stay healthy, stay safe, and look forward to a good semester of learning and opportunity to connect with your peers at your face-to-face labs. And we're just thrilled that you've chosen Vermont Tech, and you won't be disappointed because Vermont Tech is good for you and good for Vermont. So thank you so much for your time today. Be well, everyone. See you soon.